If you're not a member of the Scottish Rite, why not?
The Scottish Rite is not a business group. It's a fraternal organization, a band of brothers.
I wanted to meet more men in Masonry, and so I decided to join the Scottish Rite for that reason.
If you have an idea, you're free to make it your own, to shape the organization as you would like to have it shaped.
And this is hundreds of years of people spending time contemplating, how do I be a better person? How do I be a better citizen? How do I be a better father?
The thing with Scottish Rite, the commitment you are able to make, you're making it for yourself, not anybody else. It's for you. So you're not obligated to attend 800 million meetings and, wear something on your head and walk around like this. It's nothing like that. We're a bunch of men having fun doing things that we enjoy. Not because we're obligated to do that, because we truly like to do it.
I might be an old geezer and I've got a lot of these titles, but I have received far more from the Scottish Rite, more than any expectation I ever had, and that's an absolute fact. We're ready for you. We need young people. We need you.
Spin the tires. Track stuff to predict, though. What happened? Every week I'm heading off someplace to do an event around the country and sometimes even around the world. Most of my work keeps me within the bounds of people who are in network television or are in auto racing. And so when I get down to the Scottish Rite and we spend time together, I'm talking on one hand with a guy who's a lathe operator somewhere, this guy is a lawyer, that guy's the president of a corporation, this guy owns his own business. And so that creates a great cross-section for me to draw from. And it's all at the Scottish Rite. So it becomes, in many ways, a central meeting point of my family and of my brotherhood.
So what kind of a guy am I? I'm a dad. I'm a development officer at WDUQ. I'm a community volunteer. I'm a Freemason. I'm a Scottish Rite Mason. You're listening to WDUQ 90.5 FM, Pittsburgh. I'm somebody who cares about making my community a better place to live. I guess that's who I think I am, at least right now.
I spend a lot of time in the woods. I have a wonderful wife who's very understanding about that. Ooh. I spend a lot of time with my family, just, I'm someone who, I guess, has a high energy level, but is down to earth, and I really enjoy helping other people. Okay. And it's very rewarding to sort of get them out of debt and then get them back on track. It's something I've really enjoyed doing over the years. There's a lot of rewards I've gotten from my professional career, but there's just something about being in an organization where I can get involved, I can help the organization. I do enjoy helping people, and that does feed my soul, but Masonry and Scottish Rite Masonry just adds another dimension to that.
My great consuming passion is how does the world come together to put its collective arm around children who have so very little, oftentimes have lost parents, and don't have the safety nets elsewhere around the world that we have in the West in places like the United States. How do we come together to say, it is just no longer acceptable for 18,000 children to die every day of malnutrition, 1 every 5 seconds. Lives only take on meaning as we express them and experience them in terms of our associates. And if we carefully watch those around us, we can learn a lot. we can be encouraged and uplifted. I think the teachings, the basic principles of the Scottish Rite are really the most important principles of humanity.
This is big when you're small.
You be the desert, I'll be the storm, I'll be your Sunday best.
What appeals to me about Masons in general, just their willingness to be involved in the community, the generosity that they display in helping others, friends and family. It's made me a better individual by being around those individuals. My getting into Freemasonry was a sign of maturity. It was time to set a higher sense of morality for myself. Part of it is atoning for prior sins, a lifetime of prior sins.
I'll be the hero, I'll catch you when you fall, and I'll be big when you're small.
What we have here is a spectacular building indicating through architecture the stability of the organization behind it. You have a building saying, this is a successful organization, this is an organization that has been here a very long time and is going to be here well into the future. I'm a college professor, I hang out with other college professors, and it's so nice to come into the real world and be with people who share beliefs in things that I believe in. We come from all walks of life. We have a great broad cross-section of age, profession, politics, religion, skin color. We reach out across the community.
I want to learn more about what this discipline of Freemasonry has to offer me as a man, as a potential leader, and as a person who can shape my community and my family for the better. The support that I get from my family, and especially from Christina, my wife, is remarkable.
I love American history and the Founding Fathers, and didn't realize, as many people I don't think know, what a massive influence the principles of Freemasonry were on the founding of our country.
Benjamin Franklin was an ardent Freemason. He had a long Masonic career at a time when long Masonic careers were rare just by virtue of the brevity of human life at that time. And he achieved a great deal, not only for Masonry, but also for other people who were non-Masons, and for the United States in particular, but other countries as well.
The whole idea of becoming a better person, building yourself to be a better father, a better husband, a better member of your community is absolutely critical. I would say the other fantastic thing that I've seen from my husband about Freemasonry is that whole concept of brotherhood, you know. And we'll be riding in a cab in Jamaica, and he'll see a ring on the driver's finger, and he says, "Hello, brother," and right there's this bond, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful to see.
Where does the history of the Scottish Rite begin? Scotland, right? Wrong. The origins of Scottish Rite Freemasonry go back almost 300 years to London, England, when in the summer of 1717, 4 of the city's lodges banded together to form the Grand Lodge of England.
One of the most gung-ho of the brothers just happened to be, you guessed it, a Scotsman. His name was Andrew Michael Ramsay.
Ramsay left home for the bright lights of Paris and, tout de suite, got himself elected Grand Chancellor of one of the city's lodges. He was so devoted to the fraternité and so eloquent in his praise that he motivated his French brothers to create more than 1,000 degrees. Some of those degrees, perhaps in tribute to Ramsay, were called Écossais, or Scottish degrees. In the mid-1700s, Stephen Moran, a wine merchant from Bordeaux, spread word of the Scottish degrees all the way across the Atlantic to the West Indies. And in 1767, Moran authorized Henry Andrew Franken to carry the degrees north to the colonies.
In 1801, Colonel John Mitchell joined with 10 other gentlemen to organize a Supreme Council in Charleston, South Carolina.
Meanwhile, in New York City, a brother named Antoine Bedeau was going around conferring all kinds of degrees. One small problem: Bedeau didn't have the authority to confer any degrees, at least not in New York. Neither did a brother named Joseph Surnow, but that didn't stop him either. Colonel Mitchell was not amused. He ordered his subordinate, Emmanuel de la Mata, to sort things out. De la Mata decided in favor of Bedeau's group. It became the first Supreme Council for the Northern jurisdiction. Ever since then, the Rite has had both the Northern and a Southern jurisdiction. The Supreme Council for the Northern jurisdiction got off to a slow start. Very slow. For 40 years, nothing much happened. During those lost years, a devoted brother, John James Joseph Gogas, almost single-handedly kept the Brotherhood alive. Then in 1860, as the Rite was just getting back on its feet, rivalry and jealousy threatened to knock the whole enterprise off its expanding backside. Sovereign Grand Commander Edward Asa Raymond wanted to keep the Brotherhood the way it had been for the last 40 years, small and sleepy. But one of his deputies, Killian Henry Van Rensselaer, had other ideas, and he wasn't one to hang around biding his time. Like a Masonic Johnny Appleseed, Rensselaer crisscrossed the Northern jurisdiction, planting new lodges wherever he went. His activism made Rensselaer very popular with the new brothers, but not with the Grand Commander. When Rensselaer's supporters moved to elect their man to a powerful committee, Commander Raymond quickly gavelled the proceedings to a close. But in the end, he wasn't fast enough. The opposing faction booted him out of office and replaced him with, you guessed it, his nemesis, Van Rensselaer. The squabbling continued for another 7 years, but eventually the warring factions made peace and reunited. For the next 60 years, with nary a ripple, the Council of the Northern Jurisdiction conducted business from its headquarters in New York City. But in the early 1920s, the council members decided it was time to make a move to the cradle of liberty, the Athens of America, the hub of the universe. In short, to Boston. For the next 45 years, the Boston headquarters were located in the city's downtown. Then in 1968, the council decided to move again, this time just across the Charles River and westward to Lexington, Massachusetts, where almost 200 years before, the venerable Minutemen had stood their ground against the British Redcoats.
Only 8 years later, as part of its bicentennial celebration of the country's birth, Scottish Rite opened the National Heritage Museum. It was a gift to the American people, a museum to open the minds of visitors to everything that makes Americans, well, American. And finally, in 2007, something happened that many doubters had doubted would ever happen. After more than 200 years, the northern and southern jurisdictions decided it was high time to hold their first joint session.
And so they did. In Washington, D.C., for 3 days, in the heat of late August, brothers from north and south hobnobbed, hung out, and viewed each other's rituals. And you know what? No one could figure out why they hadn't done it sooner. Yours fraternally. Central to Scottish Rite Masonry is the conferring of 29 degrees or lessons through a series of theatrical presentations. Each of the presentations is an allegory that represents the timeless values of this unique fraternity.
The Supreme Architect does not show any of us our personalized trip maps in advance. It is just a matter of faith. This journey of a lifetime is the only one you get to take, so you want to make sure that you make the most of it along the way.
The rituals give men tools with which to deal with their day-to-day life, so that when you are in a situation that calls for reverence, calls for understanding the greater powers around you, you can call upon your training from the Scottish Rite.
Most of the degree presentations are drawn from the Old Testament or from important events in American history. What do they teach? To be of service to our fellow man, to conduct our lives according to a strong sense of ethics, to serve our nation as good citizens, and to revere our God.
Freemasonry cannot enforce its ideals. We cannot compel our brethren to live in harmony with the lofty principles taught in our degrees. All we can do is entreat you. Nay, more, we challenge you.
The degree presentations date back to the plays staged by medieval craftsmen. In earlier days, the teachings would have been staged in small groups. But as technology advanced, the degree presentations became more sophisticated.
The Scottish Rite buildings had auditoriums and theaters in them, and very, very early on in this country, as it developed, they were putting on what really was frontier theater. The Scottish Rite would use special effects, sound effects, costumes, scenery.
So that the rituals were transformed from being purely verbal rituals to being theatrical presentations, using all of the new developments of the commercial theater to transfer the esoteric knowledge in a more effective way so that the membership of the Scottish Rite skyrockets as these new technologies are being used between 1890 and 1920.
What is it like to be a part of a degree presentation?
Now, our journey can begin. Each time you add a degree, you become initiated into something else. That initiatic experience can provide you with energy that seems, at least to me, to be akin to an out-of-body experience. I honestly have felt at times like something else was driving me, that something had taken over, that I was not simply parroting back words that I had memorized.
Occasionally, a valley would use its theatrical talents to perform a play for the public.
This play is a chance for our friends and families to see what Scottish Rite is all about. I think that the audience will walk away being stunned with what they learn about Scottish Rite in general.
The guy I'm playing is named Carter Blair. He's a Confederate captain who's been captured by the Union Army. He's been mortally wounded, so he's spending his last few hours in a Union hospital tent. He was saved when he was captured by a Union Mason who saved his life. And he's realizing now that where brotherhood can transcend a war, it could really transcend almost all of the world's problems.
Over the years, the presentations have been updated to remain relevant to our modern lives, but their substance remains intact.
If you truly come and witness the degrees and take part in the experience of returning to the Scottish Rite and getting to know the men who are here, you will find they are, and truly, the movers and shakers of your community, of our society. They are living those ideals. They are teaching those ideals to each other. And that's what is so special in particular about the Scottish Rite.
Okay, so a little more